Oh, hey. Hi, guys. My name is Leonidas. This is my first stream here on Twitch. I'm going to do this webinar with my company, Solar Games, to showcase how to build the scene that you are looking at right now in PlayCanvas. Thank you very much for being here. If you have any question about the stream or during the process, feel free to ask on the chat. I'll do my best to get back to it. And let's get going. Let's start with what is this project? How was it built? What tools did it use? And some things on it. So my company, Solar Games, we created a set of tools that compromises of entity extensions, PlayCanvas scripts, systems to extend, expand what's possible with PlayCanvas. You visit this page and take a look and study what exactly is Uranus Tools for PlayCanvas, and also the eye candy. This is the demos page. We're quite proud of this. More demos are coming. These are scenes that were created in PlayCanvas and feature a lot of the things provided in our SDK. We're trying to expand what's possible with PlayCanvas. There's a lot of buzz around metaverse, open worlds, social experiences right now on the web. And we're doing our best to be on the frontier of what's possible to build with a WebGL framework and with JavaScript. In my opinion, there has been some controversy regarding what's possible with WebGL and JavaScript. In some cases, it's being seen like it's something less powerful or less performant when compared to native technologies. But the truth is that, in my opinion, JavaScript and WebGL have reached the point where they're very close to native performance, or at least they can offer meaningful and beautiful experiences like this, for example. This is a screenshot from our MMO tech demo, which is still in development, Aritelia. You can visit it in this page. There's a very special page dedicated to it, sharing on chat. This is a procedural open world developed in PlayCanvas. It features an expansive archipelago of open-world terrains populated with vegetation, complex 3D models. It even had multiplayer for, massive experiences last year. The servers are offline right now, but you are feel free to play with it. Now, in our experience, what makes possible this kind of worlds inside the web page is the tools, the APIs, and the libraries that you use. PlayCanvas goes in great lengths to make this experience that you see here possible. Here we are, using its powerful editor. Here you can see the gallery that we built in PlayCanvas, and we are going to build it right now from scratch to showcase how this is possible in the web right now. The goal is to do it in about, let's say, an hour or so. I don't know. Initially, we built this with my team. I have the models ready. I'm going to show you how we prepare the models to send them in PlayCanvas. And I'm going to show you also how to prepare the textures and get everything going to make this possible to run in PlayCanvas. So let's get started. Let's cut to the chase right now. Let's go and create a new PlayCanvas project. I'm not going to cheat, and I'm going to start from a blank project. Let's call it Solar Gallery Live. Live goes for, we're doing it live. I'm going to hit create. Now, we have an empty PlayCanvas project. To start with, before we bring in the models, let's bring in the Uranus Tools SDK. Right now, Uranus Tools SDK is being made available to selected companies. There is a license that you can acquire with your company. And as soon as you do that, you receive a full-blown PlayCanvas project that includes a number of example scenes and also all of our demos. All the demos that you've seen in the previous page, they're available here for you to play with. And also scenes that showcase specific PlayCanvas and SDK features, like level of details, multi-materials, lots of scenes on multiplayer, examples on how to use reflections, our dynamic sky solution, water, and other things, other stuff. So how do we begin with? The easiest way is to fork the SDK and get started with one of our example scenes. For example, the most lightweight scene is the sky and water scene. It includes this dynamic skybox, a water system, a camera, and a plane sphere. Let's run this. So you see, you get the water, you get the skybox, you get reflections on the sphere. Those are clouds reflected on top of it. And that's how we're going to start with our own scene. We're going to get this dynamic lighting solution inside our new blank project. Where is it? It's here. Cool. The starting point is to bring the SDK scripts. The SDK is basically this folder. We have two folders, Uranus.tools and Uranus.tools.commons. Uranus Tools is the scripts, the code base. These are PlayCanvas scripts that can be plug and played in any scene. They can be drag and dropped in any entity to add the desired functionality. The commons folder is a common set of animations, some textures used by our shaders, and some utility scripts like debug scripts and also camera controller scripts. Oh, really? Yep. It comes with a name. So let's get these folders and hopefully PlayCanvas has this powerful feature that you can copy assets from one project to the other. Good. Now that's it. We have the scripts, we have the commons, and we can drag and drop, for example, if you were planning to do this completely from scratch, you could create your skybox entity and attach the script like this. But in this specific case, the skybox system is more complex. It requires a number of lights, two lights, one for the sun and one for the moon. And let's see here, two entities, one for the skybox skydome model during the day and one for the moon during the night. So we're going to copy and paste this entity in our new project. One thing that we need to take care, some systems use spatial PlayCanvas layers. We do that to correctly sort the order of what's happening during rendering. So in this case, I think, yes, we're getting some missing layers. Let's go back to the original project. It's sky and sky reflection. I think we only need sky for this specific project. So basically, you use PlayCanvas layers to control what's rendered, let's say, in the active camera, and also what's rendered by any other secondary cameras. In this case, we have the water system that features dynamic planar reflections, and in this example, it's instructed to render on its reflection layer, both the water reflection layer and the sky reflection layer. So in this way, you can control exactly what's rendered on each surface, which is quite important if you're planning to get maximum performance out of complex scenes. Let me quickly go back to this project. Layers, we add sky layer. I think we only need a transparent one. Let me verify that here. So we have a sky transparent rendered just after the skybox. I'm going to drag it below this. I'm going to disable the PlayCanvas default skybox layer. We don't need that since we're going to add our own skybox. And also, I'm going to add a water reflection layer I'm going to call it waters. We're not going to have any water in our gallery scene, but still, let's keep the naming persistent. It may make it easier to transfer things from the SDK to a new project. Layer and add both transparent and opaque. I think it should come after world. Yeah, it makes sense like that. So now I can go back here, can remove the missing references. Yep, it picked up the sky. Most likely because I added it in the right order. Okay, that's cool. So now let's check. We have our skybox. A lot of settings to make it look nice and exactly the way you want it, like contrast, intensity. This is a full-blown shader that does atmosphere scattering. That's the word. And it can also render clouds and things like that. We keep improving on this solution, but it's quite useful. Sunlight. Let me go back here. Surface, terrain. No, we're not going to have any terrain here. So these are the directional lights, one for the sun and one for the moon. So basically they have a pivot entity here. Not here, somewhere. Yep. Anyhow, it's quite big. If you see the sizes, we have it scaled like that. And you have a pivot that controls the animation. So basically how it rotates from sunrise, midday, evening, and night. So at the parent entity, we have some other secondary scripts. I have a fog script here. I'm going to remove that. No fog inside the gallery. Material and contrast. That's quite nice. I'll show you in a while what it does. And this is the most important thing. This is the skybox cube map. So basically it renders a skybox cube map once every 30 frames. So if your screen is running at 60 FPS, it's twice per second. You can increase or decrease this frequency. You don't want it too low because it's a heavy thing to render. So on mobile, it can make your scene lag. But this is what makes the skybox, let's run it, light the objects. Yep. And that's expected. This is the most common error that our clients come back to us when they push their SDK to a new project. So basically the error is that basis texture variant will not be loaded because the commons folder includes a number of resources that are basis compressed. So there are textures that are compressed to save up video memory. Yes, exactly. So we need to fix these errors to see the skybox. Let's import basis. PlayCanvas makes it super easy. Click a button, you get the runtime, reload your launch URL. Errors are gone, hopefully. Oh yeah, they are gone. Now, we don't have any control of this camera and we also don't see any skybox. That's expected. But we see our objects here getting this blue color from the sky. So something is going right. Of course, we are rendering these skyboxes in the sky layer and our active camera needs the sky layer. So it renders this model. And yes, we can see it. We just need to look up. The easier way to do that is to go to the camera and add a script. And I think, yep, we have a fly camera script. It's one of the utility scripts included in the SDK. I'm going to do it in drag because I hate it when the window captures and locks the mouse cursor and you always need to press escape. Oh, here we go. Yep, we have dynamic light, dynamic clouds. It's almost midday. I would say the hour matches my current time zone, so it's quite realistic. No, I'm kidding. So that's just the setting. So basically the way we play with angle is if I go here on the light pivot angle, I can change the z-axis and put something like 75. Yep. And now it's like sunset. If I put 120, oh, it's super nice now. It's Halloween. Yep, it's night. Okay, good. So we have our skybox. And of course it casts shadows and everything else included. We're not going to spend much time on it. It's a standard skybox. If you want to mess with it and you have our SDK, you can play with the settings here. What I'm going to do to make it easier to try different light settings, different times, if I go back to the example, I think Actually, we have the script. Let me create a new entity. We have a settings dialog. If you opened our demos, you've seen it. So it's a very handy script. So it can have presets, like a test code preset, and it can also do a number of things. I don't know if it's going to bring an error. Let me check. Yep, undefined because I don't have any preset. Let me quickly define a preset here. So basically you can have mobile, tablet, laptop, desktop, you name it as you like, or you can have low quality, medium quality, high quality, epic quality. So and you can have the script, have a default starting preset and also auto select. Auto select means it's going to find, let's say, mobile, touch, depending on the platform, and select the right preset. Let's name this desktop. Let's put desktop here. This basically tries to map to the PlayCanvas platform property. And welcome. Yep, these are nice clouds. Actually, we're going to make the clouds look a bit better because I think Alex is here. Yeah, a friend mentioned that the clouds need some perspective as they fade out in the horizon. That's a very, melt my GPU setting. Exactly. One of the things that are very heavy right now are the clouds. They're procedural, but they're a bit heavy. And local shadows. Actually, I'm going to turn everything on. Those are common settings that we use in our demos. This is an easy to use script, but usually you will edit it and, provide your own attributes depending on your scene. Cascades, sky clouds. Okay, let me reload. Hopefully it's going to work. Yep, and here we get a dashboard with some settings. Nice. The shadow is gone. I'll fix it in a minute, but let's see. I can change the sound, but there's no sound in the scene, but I can change the time of the day. So this is super useful because you can try your scene. Nice. With different time and light conditions. Let me quickly fix this thing here. The problem is that the default shadows distance, that the settings, basically these settings are going to override any shadows settings found in the lights. So even here they are wrong. Let's put 2 cascades. I don't know. We'll fix this as soon as we get the model scene. So 50. Yeah, we have our shadow black hole. Okay, that's it. We have our scene. We have our sky system. We have our settings. We have our camera on fly mode, so we can move around. We have another light. That's why we see so many shadows. Let's remove this. Yep. Now it's, I think, more meaningful. Okay, good. And let's go remove these models so we can bring our gallery models in. For that, we're going to pause a bit on the PlayCanvas side and let's go fire up Blender. Actually, let me do it from here. I think that's not the scene. Sorry, that's the state scene. I have it here in process. Yep, here it is. Now, this is a regular model that we bought from CG Trader. Okay, so it came with actually no textures. I think it only had a texture for the floor and for these paintings. But it's a good demonstration of a simple gallery. Let me hide the ceiling so we can see floor, walls, a couple of paintings, a lot of lights. Okay. And now, let's prepare this scene for importing in PlayCanvas. By preparing, I mean that, okay, yeah, I can go export to FBX and I can import it in PlayCanvas. Now, I cannot do a GLTF. For anybody not familiar with PlayCanvas right now, it's not supported in editor. You can only load GLTF models on runtime with PlayCanvas, but it's coming soon. Very soon, I think. So we need to export to FBX. Before we do that, let's prepare some things. Let me show you how we can prepare this scene for importing in PlayCanvas to make our life easier. You can see here the scene collection. Our models, the different models in categories. That's good. Okay. The first thing I need to do is to make sure that our textures, any textures that this scene uses, are of fairly good resolution, but not too high, because we don't want to, blast PlayCanvas, and we want this scene to run on mobile. We need to reserve some video memory for all the effects that we are enabling. So let's make sure that our textures here, hold on. Yep, here we go. Let's find one. So let's try and see our textures, what kind of resolution we got. Yep. No, it's 2K. It's too big. I'm not going to zoom in on this viewport so much. For the sake of it, we're going to resize. We want to do two things. To make sure that our textures are included in the final FBX, so when we upload it to PlayCanvas, it comes back together with the models, and the textures are mapped to the materials. That saves us time. This scene is small, and I mean I could just drag and drop the textures in PlayCanvas on the right slots, but for larger scenes, it makes sense to automate these kind of things. Yeah, good point. What's the vertex count for this scene? We can see it here, top left corner. So I would say it's 35K. It's very good. Okay, so in this demo, we're not going to showcase LODs, level of details, because in other case, we were going to, decimate some models, reduce the poly count, and do additional things to prepare this scene. This scene is quite okay for rendering in PlayCanvas and in general on the web, because low poly count means basically two things: good performance, the amount of triangles you push per frame on the GPU, and also small file sizes. If the models are too big, too many polygons, it may take a while to download and start your game, your scene. Now let me remember, let's do the quickly defaults, external data, unpack resources. So if I select these, write files to current directory, then I'm going to get, all the textures included in the scene as files. This is super useful. Is batch rendering and node instancing good to use instead of baking things into one mess? Oh, that's a very good question. So this basically this comes down to the number of draw calls. So if I go back here, let's quickly do that, because actually I was going to do this at some point. When you're struggling for good performance, usually you take a look at your triangles, and at the same time you take a look at your draw calls. Okay. Here I open the PlayCanvas profiler using Alt and T. We just have one draw call, and sometimes it's flashing to 10. I don't know if you can see that. That's the skybox rendering. Okay, so it's 6 cameras drawing the cube map. I think it's flashing to 10 or 20, 12, something like that. So one way to reduce your draw calls, because this is super important, each draw call is a separate object in your renderer. Here's the scene here. Let's quickly showcase that. New 3D box, and box. This is the right editor. Yep, here are the cubes. You can see the draw calls increased. If I add more and more of these, items, I get more draw calls. So if, for example, my scene has, 100 drawings, 100 frames on the gallery walls, potentially you can get too many draw calls. Even though your triangle count can be low, at some point you may suffer bad performance from draw calls. There are several ways to mitigate that. One way, that's a good way, is to bake your mesh inside Blender, for example, in your modeling application, to select everything, object, join. I'm not going to do it. It's a good solution for some problems. Okay, if your scene is static and you don't care about control inside PlayCanvas, if you don't really care about having separate objects or duplicating things, then I would say that baking the scene like that, it may bake the nodes here, and it may put several objects that are similar, like, these fans, the lights, these columns, in a single mesh. That will reduce draw calls. But then you may not have control in PlayCanvas to move them around. So it depends on the kind of scene you want to push. Another option is, instead of doing that in your modeling app, PlayCanvas has support for batching. So it's very similar. I mean, if you add groups here and you select all of your, actually, let's put these cubes back. If I create a patch group here, and I assign this patch group to all these boxes, oh, I misspelled this, it doesn't matter. Then, if I reload this in, oh no, actually it worked. Then all these boxes are now a single draw call. So it's very similar to joining in Blender. But this allows me to move them around in PlayCanvas. So it gives me more flexibility. In our SDK also, let me remove this. In our SDK, we also have a solution called Instancer, Uranus Instancer, which you can enable on the root. It's a script which you can enable on the root entity of your project, and it will try and find the minimum number of draw calls required to render your scene. It uses hardware instancing, that's an extension that the GPUs provide, to group these objects and say, hey, these boxes use the same model and the same material. So instead of pushing each object separately to the GPU and maxing up the draw calls and hardening performance, then instead it instructs the GPU, hey, I have this model and I have 5 of these. And instead of sending 5 boxes, it sends the model and the material once, that's a single draw call, together with the position of each similar object. So now, with instancing, similar to batching, we get a single draw call. You see 2 forward draw calls because it's for the shadows. One is for the models, another for the shadows, I think. Forward, yeah, anyhow. Okay, yeah, it's a great system. I mean, basically, it requires 0 setup. You don't need to set patch groups, and also it's fully dynamic. You can move the entities on runtime. It also supports LODs. So if any artist is on the chat and you are doing this with your models, so our instancer can automatically enable and disable the right variant for this box. So if I set my LOD levels here, and for example, I have LOD 0, LOD 1, let's say I do something like this, then one box will get disabled after the camera is far away, and then the next LOD will get enabled. More of this on a future live stream, because we plan to create an open world type of experience where you get vegetation and you want to render lots of items, lots of polygons, and then these LODs make sense. Now, let's go back to our gallery. Now, let's quickly, wait, in the textures, yep, here, sorry. So now, we need to optimize this texture because each texture is 2K, okay. Let me open quickly Photoshop, let me drag and drop everything in. Usually, if you have too many textures, you will be doing it with patch actions, but in this case, it's super easy. I know the shortcuts, so I'm going to push to lower the resolution quickly. So basically, how do I decide what's the right resolution for a texture? My rule in general is how big is this texture going to be at the maximum in the player's viewport. So if it's going to occupy most of my screen and the maximum, let's say, screens that I support are 4K, then potentially you may need to have a 4K texture. Although in some cases 2K is okay, because a 4K texture, it may be too big for the web. Oh, and here is the roughness map. PlayCanvas doesn't use roughness, it uses glossiness, which is the opposite of roughness. So when you bring roughness maps, for example from Unreal, from Unity, or from other models, invert them before importing them in PlayCanvas. Now this is a glossiness map. I don't remember, did I resize this? Let's decide for a resolution in this. No, it's okay. I'm downscaling everything to save ourselves the upload time and make it quick. One thing that's important, let's finish with this. Let me reopen something. So we have our textures downscaled. Let me quickly reopen this too. For base color, diffuse, roughness maps, emissive maps, JPEG is a great format. I'm going to keep this as PNG to keep the references. It's okay for a single texture, but make sure for normal maps and potentially for light maps, if you want very good quality, you need a lossless format like PNG. So yes, make sure your normal maps are PNGs. Oh yeah, definitely do that. Tiny JPEG and tiny PNG can really save up some space. And I mean, when you're working on the web, it's super important. That's a very good tip. Yep, thanks for mentioning it. Actually, let me save here and reopen the file and make sure that we get our textures here at the right resolution. Yep, it's downscaled. Now, first step is done. We have our textures included, they're good resolution. Another thing here. Okay, so this is painting.001. That's a good name. The thing is that PlayCanvas is not going to pick this name when creating the entity in the editor. It's going to pick this name. It's not a good name. Okay. I think I have a script here. Actually, no, I don't. This is an old script. In any case, a good strategy is to make sure that the names in the meshes are meaningful if you want to find exactly what you're looking for. In this case, I'm going to keep it. It's only 10 paintings. But make sure that here, the underlying mesh data in Blender is using a meaningful name. So for example, if you're building LODs for this painting, then you need to make sure that the name is here, because our instance and the entity name, the node name, it's not going to pick it inside PlayCanvas. That's okay for now. Anything else? Oh, yeah. One thing that we do for this scene to save the trouble later on. In most of these scenes, to avoid the trouble of creating colliders separately in PlayCanvas, I mean, that's perfectly okay. Colliders means the objects that you need to create to instruct the controller, the physics engine, where it's possible to walk on, like on this floor, but to avoid going through this wall, you need a collider. To avoid doing that in PlayCanvas, we create a low poly version of this whole scene inside Blender as a separate single mesh. So yep, here's the sailing. Let me show you how I do it quick in Blender quickly. I'm going to select everything here. I'm going to press, I think, Shift and D. Great. Thanks for the follows. Oh, hey Darius, how are you doing? I'm going to so we have our objects duplicated. I'm going to hide everything else. I'm going to select join and I'm going to press dot. Sorry, I work with shortcuts. I have a way to find where I'm going with this. Here it is. It's great. So I think let's verify that we haven't deleted everything else. I'm showing everything. Everything is shown now. Yep, here's the original scene. I'm going to select the joint mesh. And here is the thing that we were discussing previously. This is a single mesh. You can see the normals changing. That's Blender thing. And we would say this could be a collider. Okay. And actually, I think, let me quickly redo this because I think I may have duplicated this twice because I've seen the triangle not doubling but tripling. So I'm going to select Ctrl A. I'm going to, yep, Ctrl A, that's it. Shift D, duplicate. Okay. So I'm going to join. Yeah, sometimes when I use Ctrl A and trying to join, this menu is not working. Now it's working. I've joined. So I'm going to move this to the parent collection. Okay. Maybe this is wrong. This is not the selected faces. In any case. No, this is our collider. Okay, I don't care about the materials included on the collider. I'm going to remove everything. And actually, it makes it easy when I see it white, I know it's the collider. To avoid, removing anything else. So I'm going to name it Solar Gallery Collider. As we said before, I'm going to rename the internal node. Okay, I'm going to decimate this. This is the beauty. I don't need precision and accuracy on the collider on this scene. So let's try and reduce poly count here by a lot. Okay. So normally I would have removed, for example, everything on the sailing. I mean, you don't really, if this type of controller that you're bringing in this gallery is not flying around, it's not going to fly here. So you don't need collisions with a sailing. You could freely remove everything not requiring the collider from this point. In this case, I'm going to keep it. I'm just going to reduce this to something like that. Okay. I'm not going to bother anymore with it. We are okay. Let's show everything. Okay, good. So I think, remember anything else, I think we're good to go. In any case, we can re-import later on. If we made a mistake, let's go to File, Export, FBX. Now, the important setting here is to go to Path Mode, Copy, and click this button here. Good. Oh, thanks. Thanks for the nice words, and for now, thank you for being here. And I'm going to export the FBX here. Good. I'm going to show you now. Here it is. It's around 4 megabytes. I think that is justified. The Z finding is because we have the collider in place. Yes, we can see our textures included behind the collider, that it's flickering. We're good to go. Let's go and PlayCanvas. Let's go to our live project. I'm going to quickly create a folder here. I'm going to call it models. And gallery. Now, PlayCanvas has a setting, I think when you create a new project, it's automatically toggled on. Create FBX folder. I'm going to toggle this off. The important settings here are convert to GLB. We need that. I mean, the PlayCanvas editor doesn't support importing GLTF and GLB directly in the editor right now, but on runtime it does. So we need this. It's a better format. And FBX, it's not really supported on runtime. And also import hierarchy. That's the most important thing because we're going to get, here. We're going to drag and drop the gallery here. We're going to take, it's fast. We're going to get entities out of every Blender node that we've seen. So the PlayCanvas server is spinning. We see our textures generated, our materials in place, lots of materials, lots of render assets. These are the models basically. The names don't make any sense because of the problem we've seen. We don't care. These are the paintings. And what are we looking for? We are looking for our template. Now, if I drag and drop this, the PlayCanvas scene, it's taking a minute. Here is the model. You can see the textures in place. Nice, 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 very nice. You can expand this. This is the Blender hierarchy. You don't get the collections in here. I mean, you don't get this nice, separated categories of objects like columns, doors. To do that, you need to create an empty node from here and parent all of your all of the entities of all of the children to that parent node entity. This is out of scope for today's webinar, but it's really useful. I do it quite often. Now, let's quickly find our collider entity, because that's what creating all this flickering. You see our collider here. I'm going to turn off the model. Nice. That's a good question. Luckily, no. That's actually one of the most important updates in PlayCanvas lately, because that's a very good question. Actually, let's verify that. Let's open the network tab and let's see this model that we've added, if it adds to our network requests. Oh, here's the model. Nice. What was the name? I think Solar Gallery. Yep, here it is. It's a single network request because it's a GLB. So the GLB retains the internal hierarchy without the need of loading all these assets that PlayCanvas renders separately. So basically, it may seem a lot, but let me tell you, materials and render assets and template assets do not add to your final network requests. The GLB, yes, this container asset does, It's a separate network request, and you can see the related assets here. And also textures. The textures are downloaded separately. Let's... Really? It's JPEG. Oh, yeah. Hey, hi, Steven. Oh, thanks for the mention. Yeah, okay, great. That's true. Good. So here are the textures, and these are separate. And actually, we cannot see the config JSON here. Yeah, it's not. I think it's been passed through a WebSocket from the editor directly to the launch window. That's why you cannot see the config JSON file. If we were building our final PlayCanvas project, then we'll get a big JSON file called config.json, which includes information of all the assets that our project requires to load on runtime, on load time, and on runtime. All of our assets available for loading. Okay, good. Now let's go back to our collider. Now, what's a collider? A collider in PlayCanvas, it's an entity that has a collision shape. You add a collision component to it. I'm selecting mesh here. I could do a box. So basically, here's the trick. You can add separate entities, move them around, scale them to resemble these walls. Where is it? Yep, here it is. Let's put 5. Let's put something like that. Yep. So actually, that may be even more performant than using a mesh collider. But in our case, and since we are not building Fortnite on the web and we have some frames to spare, we can use a mesh collider, and it also provides accurate collisions easily and without going through the trouble of creating these separate colliders. I need to reset to put the collider back in place, because otherwise, yep, it's in place. Let's re-add collider here, selecting mesh. I'm clicking here to easily find what's the right render asset, putting it here. And also, do not forget, this is only a collision shape. Right now, this is just, let's say, a trigger. This can only understand if something is getting in or out of this collision shape. To actually get collisions between our objects, our character controller, and this model, we need a rigid body. So in this way, this model now is inserted in the physics world, in the physics simulation. We did that, we got it out of the way. Actually, let's enjoy our model a bit. Let me reload just to be sure that this is loaded. Yep, I can fly around. There are no windows. Why? Oh yeah. Because I need to set opacity and some settings to get, this to be transparent, and I can see outside the skybox. But I think, yep, we can already see the dynamic skybox affecting and even casting shadows. Yep, inside the gallery. Oh, isn't this nice? Yep, that's a good start. Okay, so let's get rendering out of the way. Let's quickly fix the materials here. Let's sort and find our materials. Now, this gallery didn't have too many textures. Actually, it had only one for the floor. And I think I may have downscaled it too much. So we're missing the quality. Anyhow, we can fix that later. But let's find that material, We have our roughness map here, which is glossiness. Yep, we inverted it. We can enable... let me quickly do that. I'm going to enable use metalness in everything and set metalness to 0. So basically, this enables the PBR pipeline in the material system of PlayCanvas. So instead of using specular maps, which is, let's say, the older pipeline, we can use metalness and glossiness and PBR lighting on our materials. Of course, we don't have any metalness map here. That's okay. But it may change slightly how lighting affects our materials. Okay, we have our floor. If I increase glossiness and go back, yep, I can see some lighting, reflected on the floor. A lot of lighting reflected on the floor. That's good. Okay, it's working. Now we have our paintings here. You can play with it to get the right settings. For example, something interesting. If I drag and drop, let's say, This texture and emissive. Yep. Now this gets some lighting even during the night. So it's like a lamp. It's nice. Okay, good. Let's revert. Go back. Make it a day. Now let's make it pretty. Okay, first things first. Let's quickly fix the windows. Opacity. I'm setting alpha to the Windows material. Some opacity here. Good. Let me quickly select the glass of the window. I don't want these casting shadows, although it didn't. Oh, okay, good. That's good. I'm going to... yeah, that's a good point. Okay. We have our sailing. Now we have our walls material here, which is almost everywhere, I think. It's both on the sailing and on the walls. I'm going to put a slight tint here. Let's make it slightly looking and not like a new building. Something like this. And actually, since we are now in PlayCanvas, I'm going to create a sailing material and assign a different color in the sailing. Oh yeah, it works. Like a darker shade. Okay, that's good. Now, you can play as much you like with this. So for example, I don't like this color for the doors. I'm going to select the doors material. Let's make it whiter. Yeah, something like this. Okay, good. And shadows are looking like that. Okay, good. Let's appreciate this scene a little better and make sure our collider works by bringing in the player controller. Now, we have a player controller, a third-person player controller in the Uranus Tools SDK. Let me quickly find this. I'm going to get to a scene where we use this. Oh, nice. This is our multiplayer scene. So we have a building here, and somewhere we have our player controller. Nice. So basically, this is a model. Yep, the model is here. It's a Ready Player Me model. Download it. Okay, good. We can see the bones. Yes, it's rigged. This is the armature, the skeleton of this model. That's nice. Okay, good. We have some virtual joysticks. These are for mobile. And this is the camera attached on the player controller. This is a complex controller in a sense that it does several things. It comes out of the box with animations to use, a collider so it can directly walk on surfaces. It also has multiplayer scripts. That's interesting. We already have this. That's good. Okay, cool. And I'm going to copy and paste this in our scene. Since the SDK and the commons folder is in place, I expect the controller to grab the references, or at least I hope. If not, that's okay. We'll fix this. I'm going to disable the active camera. Okay, good. Oh yes, we see the materials in place. I'm going to disable the multiplayer script here, although it does nothing on its own. We have our... I'm going to disable this. I'll tell you in a minute what these scripts do. This is the base script. Lots of attributes, right? So yes, you can control sprinting speed, moving speed, jumping speed, swimming speed. You can even fly. So many things. Okay. So let me verify that the camera... Yeah, here is some post-effect scripts. We don't have them in our project. These come with the PlayCanvas engine. We can bring them back in a minute. I'm going to reduce the far clip of this camera. It's not an open world or anything. It's just a gallery. Okay, and let's make sure that... Where is this controller? Let's place it inside the gallery so it doesn't drop through the floor. Okay, cool. Okay, nice. Let's reload. That's better. Do we get any error? Yes, we do. Cannot read properties of undefined rigid body. Okay, let's go find this. Oh yeah, where is Hammond.js? So basically PlayCanvas comes with Hammond.js, its physics engine. So we need that to be able to walk around, interact with other colliders. So we need to import them. Yep, it's imported, and we can see it here. Let's reload. And we don't see nothing. Yes, we see something. Here it is. It's a full-blown third-person player controller. We can walk around, and the camera also interacts with any other collider, so it doesn't go through this. So yeah, I think we can even jump. Good that we put the sailing collider on, so we don't go outside of it. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's the thing I remember. So we can see this shadow casting between this door. I think this happens because our doors here. Yep, we need to enable disable backface culling on these materials. So basically, let's try this. I think that's how it's fixed. Oh yeah. So basically, from the face of the light, I mean, imagine that there's a camera where the light is, and that's how shadow maps are rendered. So look what this camera sees. It used to see inside if we keep this setting on. What this means, disable rendering the back faces of models increases performance because it reduces the poly count. But in some cases, you may need to render both sides, like in this case. Okay, so we fixed that. We have our player controller. Actually, let's go quickly make the character walk instead of running. This scene is way too small to be running around. Let's disable sprint by default. Huh, he can fly. No, he cannot. Yep. I don't like this floor. Let's go back in and tile the floor texture. I think we can do that. Yeah. Oh yeah, now it's super nice. Okay, so we have our character controller, we have shadows. Let's verify that again. Casting in. We have collisions. No. Let's finish setting up the model and materials. What are we missing compared to the original scene? Oh yeah. We're missing reflections, dynamic reflections on this floor. Now, what I usually do to keep my effects in place, I mean, in some cases, I can just enable the scripts on top of the entity in question. In this case, it's the floor. But in some cases, because the shaders are enabled on the material level, these effects are affecting multiple objects. So to avoid the trouble, I keep them categorized like this. So I'm going to add planar reflection script. This is a script included in our SDK. So now the list of active cameras, I think that's optional, or maybe not. I don't know. I should know, right? But I remember we made it easier, so it may be optional. It can find the active camera from the scene layers cameras list, so you may not have to reference it here, but just in case. So I'm going to reference the floor material. This is the water reflection layer. So basically, this instructs this script to render reflections from any model that has this layer enabled. So basically, to make it easier to me, I'm going to select everything for the moment and add a second layer to these models. Now, for any camera using this layer, these models are going to render it with. I mean, my main camera is using it. No, it shouldn't be using it. So, yep, that's okay. Floor reflections. And I should add some settings here. Yep, you can add, I think this is optional, but let me add this. Normal map, and I think my material has a normal map. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Sometimes some materials are not mapped. So basically, let me upload this from here. So this didn't come with. Maybe in Blender it wasn't being used. I don't know. We'll check in a minute. So we uploaded our normal map. We can add it here. So this is the normal map. Oh, actually, didn't expect it to be so easy. Okay, so basically our sailing has a normal map, And the reflections can use a normal map to distort themselves. So basically, wow, I think too much. But anyhow, it's nice. At least we can see the effect. So basically, you can see the gallery reflected on this perfectly washed floor. Yep. So we have reflections here. Let's make them lighter, lighter, or less intense. Actually, let's go back to our floor here. Let's reduce the normal. Actually, yeah, that's the thing. Our texture transform, the tiling that we increased, needs to be increased both on diffuse, glossiness, and normal maps. Ah, nice, nice. Much better, much better. Still too much, but let's keep it like that while we are optimizing. Yeah, I mean, another thing that I will do is reduce the reflectivity of the skybox. As you can see now, the floor is receiving light from the skybox. So, for example, if I change the daytime, you can see it change. This is not fully accurate because this is an interior scene. Okay. So normally the ceiling will be blocking most of the light that is coming from the skybox. But in this case, since we don't have, let's say, lumin or a similar system, global illumination, we need to mimic that, and let's reduce the reflectivity, the effect, yeah, that the skybox has on the floor. It may be better, but it's still too shiny. Let's fix that. Let's reduce the glossiness. It's better. Still, the reflections are too shiny. In any case, let's go back here. Yep, it's a bit better. Okay, we'll improve later on. And also, it doesn't make sense to polish and perfect these settings now because we're also missing the interior lighting. We're going to get to that in a minute. So have our textures here. This isn't being used, really? I thought it was used. Okay, maybe it's a bug here. So let's quickly improve some things here because we're going to find them later. Now, we are rendering almost 600,000 polygons. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Now, let's see why we're doing that. Now, if I disable the sun shadows, I'm getting, wow, 1/3, oh, even less. Okay. So basically, we have two cascades. So basically, right now, we're rendering twice the draw calls because we have high quality shadows close to our character. That's one of the shadows cascades. It's a higher set of shadow maps rendered around our character. And you can see in a distance, lower resolution, too low, because you cannot see the window frame rendering. That's one thing. Another cascade. That's good for open world games, but in this case, we may go for one cascade. So you see that it reduces the quality of our close shadow maps because now we have a single cascade. That's good because we reduced our triangles count. Okay, I'm going to reduce the shadows distance. Actually, we have a bug here. You see, we cannot set lower distance than 200. That's interesting. So basically, that comes from the slider. Anyhow, I'm going to set the defaults here. Sometimes because I disable the settings here, I'm going to set the defaults here too. Okay, I'm going to reload. And let's find out how we can reduce that poly count. And also, let me change quickly the time of the day. Okay, we'll get back to that in a while. We also have 500 draw calls. That's too many. So many draw calls coming from shadows. Okay, let's improve on that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a small trick that we do with our SDK. Let's see. Let me quickly disable all shadows, all shadow casting for this object. Okay, good. And then I'm going to enable shadow casting. I'm going to enable this model. This is a collider. Okay. it's a single draw call because it doesn't use any kind of materials. It's a single material, the whole geometry. So it can render shadows, but I mean, we don't really want the actual polygons. We only want shadows to render from this whole mesh because it's super nice. It resembles our gallery. Okay, so we're going to go and do the following. Enable our instancer, which can also reduce the draw calls on its own. That's good, right? And our instancer has a special tag, which if I apply to an entity that has a model or render component, it's going to stop rendering, let me reload, the model, but rendering only for the shadows pass. See? Yep, we're getting shadows. Yeah, that's cool. Although not for the frames, because we decimated that model. We're going to re-enable the frames. Observe the triangles. That's a huge difference. Exactly, like a shadow made. Yep, you got it. Observe the difference in draw calls. We get almost the same result. We have shadows for our player, we have shadows for our gallery, and with just a fraction of the performance cost. Okay, we can do even better. First of all, let's find our frames, window frames. Hold on. Oh, yes, definitely. If we enable models on runtime, they're going to get picked up by the instancer. Basically, the instancer patches the PlayCanvas engine and puts a small bypasser. Just before you push a model to be rendered on a layer, our instancer can understand if this model can be instanced and bypasses the PlayCanvas renderer and pushes it on our own buffers, on our own draw calls. So you can enable, disable models, disable entities, add more entities. So it's fully dynamic. It doesn't need any additional batching or anything. Okay, hold on. Let me quickly find my windows. Let me enable cast shadows. Yep, we got our frame shadows back on. Okay, cool. Another trick. Let's get done with the shadows to move forward. Okay, we have another script that we can use to increase performance. And actually, we're going to need it for two reasons. The first reason is for these shadows that we have here. Now, this is a shadows timer script. It patches the PlayCanvas shadows renderer and allows you to set a custom interval, a custom frequency on how often you want your shadows to update. So you see 4 fields for static times, 4 fields for moving times. So basically, these are per second times. So this is 20 times per second. This is 10 times per second. And base time. Yep, I think this is for point lights. And also it can work. These are for directional lights and these are for point and spot lights. Now, if we go back to our scene, we can see here our shadow draw calls flickering. Let me help you here to avoid too much flickering. I'm put once per second here, okay? Now, I have zero really? Yep, 0 draw calls almost for shadows rendering. Observe my shadow. It's like Peter Pan. It's trying to follow me, but it's stuck. Why it's stuck? Yeah, because it's rendering only once per second. So we decreased our draw calls so much. But of course, it's not so pretty. Now, if you put 20 times per second, you can still get dynamic shadows. Yeah, not so much for the character. Let me, it's still laggy. So you find the perfect balance, or even you can put 0 for when moving. So I mean, when the camera is static, you can render with a lower interval, but when rendering, moving, yep, like this. And that way, we can reduce our draw calls even further. Right now, we are less than 100 draw calls. And imagine, we began with 500. And we also have at the same moment a dynamic skybox rendering, 2 times per second, real-time reflections rendering for almost everything in the scene. Actually, for everything in the scene, we're going to optimize on that. Real-time shadows, and we have our player moving. And actually, everything is real-time here. I mean, if I go in here, select this frame, you can see it moving. It's not batched. It's casting real-time shadows, real-time reflections. Nothing is baked. Okay, and we get decent performance. Let's optimize a little further and let's move on. I don't think we need reflections for everything. I mean, given this kind of floor that we have, it's not a mirror, it's a wooden floor. You cannot see everything. I mean, yeah, let's disable the water reflection. Let's select, well, it depends on you, it depends on the type of the scene. I'm going to reflect the frames and I'm going to reflect, I don't know, the windows. I'm going to reflect and the walls, ceiling, columns, walls exterior. So to preserve a little performance. One thing we need to fix, and I think I don't remember exactly how, we can see that the skybox, the sky is not reflected. You get between the windows, you get some black. Yep. I think to do that, we need to go to our sky dome models and select water reflection. Uh, I slightly remember that was the case. Maybe water reflection, sky reflection. Let me reload just to be sure. Otherwise, I need to think a bit more on that. Somehow we're fixing that in our SDK. Okay. Maybe. Yep. Anyhow, we'll get to it in a minute. Okay, good. So we have our shadows back on. Let me find the right time. Okay, cool. Now, I'm not going to add any post effects yet. That's okay. For the render quality, we'll get back to it later on. Let's quickly add some lighting here. This scene, yeah, has too many lights, right? Good idea would be, let me show you how to easily add them. So usually we create some light categories inside our model. Let me uh, unlink the template so I can reparent here all the lights. I'm going to find the big lamps first, not this one, the long lamps, sorry, like this. Very good. I'm going to add them as a child here. This makes it easy when developing to quickly enable and disable these light entities whenever required. Okay, so mm, these are the perfect candidate for area lights, and PlayCanvas supports it, but I'm not going to use it right now. It requires a different kind of setup. So I'm going to quickly, let's say, add a parent entity, a child entity. I'm going to add a spotlight. Let's add a spotlight for this. Okay, I'm going to quickly turn it down, increase, let's say 70. No, it's too much. Okay, no, leave it like that. If I go back in my scene, let's make it night. Where is it? Where's my light? Here it is. That's okay. Let's change some settings quickly. Let's put inverse squared. That makes it more intense close to the light source, but the light fades out quickly. So let me change the range. Let me put some numbers here. I mean, let's let's have the light diffuse around it. Of course, and let's move it below the light. Something like this. And let's increase the intensity. Now, you don't really know the exact settings because you don't have a single light source. You have plenty. Okay. And also let me quickly create a child light here. I'm going to invert this to mimic the effect of this light, casting light on the ceiling. I'm going to reduce a bit. I don't know. We don't really care about that either since it's too much. Yep. So it's too much. Okay. Good. Sorry. Too much alt and tabbing. Okay, let's put the remaining lights, and to make it look pretty, we need to find our material here that is responsible for the actual light model, and we need to increase. Yep. Now it's really light. Okay, so it better binds. I'm going to create a template out of this. Let's create a template folder. Template, spotlight, going to call it, sorry. You need to press F2 to change the name. Long spotlight. Let's quickly create a template. So to be able to add multiple instances of it, but then we can get back and play some more with the intensity. Okay, so, okay, good. Now, if I go here and set this value to 0, yes, it's placed exactly, because I set the local position again to 0, it's placed exactly at the same spot for any other light source. Let me quickly do that. These are the most important lights in this scene. Yep, good. Yep, quickly. I didn't remember there were so many lights. Now, when it comes to dynamic lights, usually the first thing that comes to mind is, bad performance. Literally, having too many lights can put a strain on the GPU, especially on the pixel shaders, because normally the GPU needs to loop through each light and calculate how much a pixel is affected by this light. In this case, PlayCanvas has a very cool feature called cluster lighting. What that does basically is pre-render all light sources, basically calculate how much each light affects each pixel on its surface. So the shader basically treats it like a single light, literally. So you can have, that's why I'm putting so many dynamic lights, because I don't know if you're counting. Uh, let's see how many lamps do we have here. And imagine each template has 2 lights. So normally this would lag, but thanks to this feature, we can have so many lights. Oh yeah, and I remember cluster lighting is enabled now in PlayCanvas, so we're still getting this super decent frame rate. 200, yeah, my monitor pushes so many, and yep, not much. No, it's a really nice scene. Yep, it looks like a gallery during the night. Let's play with the time of the day again. Oh, nice, 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 nice. Much better, much better. Mm, since we have our power now, it's everything is real time. I mean, nothing is baked. We can even enable. That's me thinking shadows on all these lights. Normally we shouldn't, but let's stress test this cluster lighting solution. Where is it? So you can set some resolution here for all the cluster lights. You can select how many lights per cell. These are optimization settings that you can find in the PlayCanvas manual to better understand exactly what's going on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have so many lights with cluster lights. That's true. Now let me quickly do this. Basically, I'm thinking I may crash my stream, but hopefully not. Let me so enable distance. Let's reduce the distance that this light can affect. 10. Let's press apply all. Here. Let me quickly disable my shadows timer because it may be interfering with. Okay. And let's verify that we got shadows enabled for everything. Actually, maybe too little. I don't remember the sizes here. Let me reload just in case. I don't remember if the shadows were enabled before for cluster lights. Yep, too many polygons, too many draw calls, because everything is casting a shadow. Basically, you cannot really see because there are too many lights. Yeah. And actually, we don't really need, yep, you can slightly see here. No, no, that's too bad. Anyhow, yeah, I can see from my shadow that I'm getting too many, sometimes too many shadows, you can tell. So yeah, it doesn't really justify enabling shadows on these spotlights to only get the shadow of the player multiple times. It's nice. It's nice. I mean, yeah, if we enable our shadows timer here, we can have the base time here for spotlights render, let's say, 10 times per second. So it's still good. Yeah. But no, anyhow, I don't like my shadows moving like that. Okay, let's disable spotlight shadows. Okay, normally we should be adding spotlights to to all other lights in this scene, but it may take a while. Let's move forward with the rest of this project to get the other future in, and maybe we can take a look at it later on, or maybe you can give it a try on the live demo. Actually, it's a command. If you go to the live stream, oh yeah, it's on top of the chat. There's the live URL there, which you can give it a try at any point and see the final scene, how it looks. Okay, cool. Now we have lighting, we have shadows, we have reflections. Mm. Oh, thanks, Christina. Yep, that's the live URL. We have decent performance, even on mobile. Okay. Did we basis compress our textures? Let's go do that to make sure we don't crash on any device. I can multi-select all textures. I'm not selecting the normal map because I want these settings for the rest of the textures. But for the normal map, I want to select this tick. Okay. And now the PlayCanvas server is spinning. Oh yeah, now I've seen that comment. Yeah, and nobody's having too many real-time reflections. That's true. I mean, but maybe we can do that. Why not? But fair point, fair point. In some of our demos we have, but we put a very low interval, how often they render. So sometimes you can treat them like semi-baked. For example, you walk in a small room, okay, and you can just render the shadows at that point, at that instant. Okay, so they are not really baked, but they're only rendered once as soon as you enter that room. So they may make sense for multiple light sources. Now, if I multi-select these textures, it's less than 2 MB. That's cool. That's cool. Let me reload for the profile to show the actual video memory usage. It's less than 100 MB. That's cool. That's great. Okay. Mm, Now that we are to it, let's get finished with rendering. Let me quickly bring some of the PlayCanvas post-effect scripts. Most of these are found in the PlayCanvas repository, the PlayCanvas engine repository. Some of them are pull requests right now. Eventually, they're going to get added. I don't remember which we use. We can put some in place and play with them. We need a scripts folder. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, most of them are used. This is not used. Hmm. I need to reload. I think I need to reload again. Let's see. Yes, there is some ambient occlusion. You can better see now the details. Because I mean, this geometry was untextured, walls, ceiling. So ambient occlusion makes sense to this scene. There's some bloom enabled. There's a number of effects that make this scene look pretty. Now it's 200 MB because these effects use render targets. These render targets are uncompressed. So when you are running on mobile, take note that potentially you may have to disable most of the post effects, which okay, usually they don't perform so well on mobile to conserve, video memory and have better performance. I think we're done with performance and the scene. Now let's get to the interesting things. Now we can close this. Also, let me show you the thing that we have here. This is a very nice effect that you can use to change the contrast of your scene. You see that it's now a bit washed out, right? You make it, let's say, darker. It's too dark. Yep. So basically, PlayCanvas has a brightness and contrast post effect. In our SDK, we use it as a material shader, which has better performance because it overrides and adds just a couple of shader instructions to all materials in scene. Yep. Now this is good contrast. Okay, cool. Now here is our controller. Let's quickly go and enable networking. That's good. Uh, Let me call this entity networking. I like to keep this separate. Now we can go back to our SDK. Let's go here and close this in. Oh yeah, actually that was our multiplayer example. So multiplayer, we have a server. So that uses Colosseus. Mm, Let's see if I can quickly find our server script. Colosseus is a Node.js server system, which is very easy to use and very powerful. It's very often used in HTML5 games, and not only HTML5 games, native games too. They have a cloud system called Arena, which you can subscribe. They even have a free plan, and you can upload your own server and quickly get going with multiplayer. With our SDK, we provide a server script which you can use quickly. It's a relay multiplayer. That means right now the server script will create a number of rooms. We can have room presets and then relay all messages from one client to the other. So it's client-side prediction, client-side multiplayer. If you want to cheat, you can cheat. Okay, don't tell it to everybody, please. Okay, but still, you have this script and you can easily add your own server logic. So you can make it partially authoritative or even fully authoritative. This is not JS, this is JavaScript. Potentially, you can even run an instance of the PlayCanvas application here. Of course, you don't need to run the renderer or anything. That doesn't make sense. But you could run Amon.js, you could run collisions and physics to get prediction for all that. Okay, so in our SDK, we have a server script which connects automatically with a Colosseus server. You can have a server URL, the remote server URL, and also a local URL, so you can start testing with a local server on your computer. Let's copy this and bring it in. I mean, you don't have to really code anything for multiplayer, for simple client-side relay multiplayer. It doesn't matter where this entity is in the world. It's only used for, having a script attached and running inside the scene. And also, the second thing we need is a room, a networking room. What's a room? Basically, it's like a real physical room. As soon as a player enters this room, automatically is being networked um, to all other connected players. Here we need to reference our player template, which actually, where is it? Yeah, this came from another project, so I need to unlink, I think. And I need to create a new template. Good. So let me reference it here. So what's the logic? Here we have the room type. I'm going to use the room relay room tiny. This comes from here, from the room types that we defined in our Colosseum server. For example, this room type only allows 10 clients maximum to connect to this room. We can also have infinity. Don't do it for without being prepared. Okay. So we have our area URL. Let's call this Solar Games Live. So basically, this is a handler to define this room in our server. We can have multiple rooms. Each room needs a unique area ID. Our local player, I think we need to add this. Is this a local room? Local room means that it's actually a real live room. So basically, you can have an area in this room, and as soon as you connect, you see everybody else. If you leave that room, you don't see anybody else. This is a small gallery, so we will keep this room like that. I think that's it. I think. Yep. Yeah, that's two scripts. Okay, cool. Let's run one. And of course, for multiplayer, we need multiple windows. Let's do this now. So we have a client here. Nice. Let's create a second window by the side of this. Let's hope it works. And no, it doesn't. Why? Let's remember. Let's see if we get any error. No, we don't. Yes, of course. Because just a minute ago, we disabled a script on the player controller. Let's find it. This is the player controller. Normally, the rest of the scripts here can be used for single player controllers for anything else. The player controller supports the Colosseus multiplayer solution, and it can, if instructed, relay its position and other types of information like username or selected avatar to the server. To do that, we need to enable this script. So basically, I can have a username here. No, player A. And this is a very important setting. How many times per second I network my position? Um, Yeah, I set to 10. Okay. So if it's a precision, high, fast moving shooter, you need to increase that. If you're trying to put too many players inside a room and you don't really care, just a social experience, you can reduce that and save your server's bandwidth. So that way you control how often it's sent and broadcasted by the server. And these are the interpolation inertia. We do smooth interpolation between the states to avoid seeing the players moving like a robot. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully. Yep, I made the change. I need to apply to my template. So this template receives those changes. Let me find my windows. Let me reload. And hopefully we're now going to see it. Okay. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh, I even have jamming enabled still. Good, 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 good. That's nice. This is client-side relay multiplayer. Okay. So even if I leave this room, I'm still networked. That's good. That's great. Okay. So we have multiplayer working just by drag and dropping two scripts. That's quite good. That's quite good. That's nice. And it's quite powerful because you can define multiple rooms. That's actually a good idea for building more open worlds to avoid cluster everybody and avoid putting everybody on the same room. That way you can offload the number of instances per room, both networking wise and also rendering wise. How many avatars are animating and rendering on any room? Oh, yeah, multiplayer is definitely a huge milestone. That's true. Now, we have multiplayer. What's next? Now, the next thing is we need to define. I mean, right now, these players can only see each other, right? The next step is to be able to, let's say, talk with each other or even see live video feeds, which is now supported because we use Agora.io. It's a very cool service and game oriented, I would say. So it provides real time voice and video for any kind of application and web based applications included. They have a very cool SDK. So we have, let's go to the example here. We have an example in our SDK multiplayer Colosseus plus our spatial audio. Isn't that cool? Now, we have a similar to the Colosseus server, we have an Agora client script that puts this client to connect with the Agora streaming service. Let me quickly bring this here to networking. Paste. It has your app ID, token IDs, handles authentication. It has a mode. RTC is when you have multiple people broadcasting at the same time. Live is when you have a single streamer, like me here, broadcasting to multiple receivers to an audience. The codec and the rest are just some settings to get away with proxies. Okay, cool. We have our client. So now we need, similar to how we have rooms for multiplayer, we need an Agora media object. It's a very special script. Let me bring this here. Let me put it here. Cool. And actually, let me no, it's on 0. So this script has many settings like has audio, has video, what's included with this script. Auto start audio, auto start video. I mean, is there a local player or is it local media? Now, there are several settings because we try to cover each and every scenario. So do you want global audio with everybody connected? Then keep local media disabled, have auto start audio enabled, disable any kind of video, and then each player connected to this PlayCanvas instance, as soon as he connects to the Colosseum server, he's going to get audio. Okay. Do you want to have spatial audio? That means while you walk away from the players, the audio diminishes, is reduced, the volume. Or do you want full-blown audio anywhere? You can disable this. You can set the fall of distance, the corner inner angle. So basically, you can even simulate when someone is speaking, how much you listen to him by the sides, or if he's 36 degrees, he can talk to anybody. So he can create these kind of things based on these settings. Let's quickly verify that it's working. Not with audio because I have my microphone hooked up on the stream. Let's try and do video. Has video, auto start video, video source. Is it my web camera? No, I'm going to put my screen. I'm going to put my screen here. That's cool. Okay, screen quality. This is the video feed quality and the camera quality. Usually when you're screen sharing, that's what screen means basically. You select some high quality. Nice. Let me reload. Okay, good. Actually, yeah, sorry. That was me being too excited. For video, you need a video surface. Where is this video going to render? Okay, so let me quickly bring that on. We need to instruct PlayCanvas on what surface we're going to render on. Let's get some of these framings. Let me expand it a bit. Extend it, sorry. Okay. Let's say that this is our video wall. Okay, cool. Let's create a special material for that. Live video. Let's put it here. No, we need two things. We need to instruct PlayCanvas that this entity, and actually let's put it outside so we can easily find it. Is it out? No, it's still in. Out of the controller here. Okay, cool. Yeah, but it loses the scaling of the parent entity. That's okay. Let's keep it here. TV screen. Okay, cool. Let's put it on top. Now, let's quickly create another effect here. Let's call it video screen. We need one script video. We have a material video script. This is very similar to the default PlayCanvas video texture script. So basically, you can drag and drop material here. You can have an MP4, like a remote URL, and you can have it, render on this surface. Not on the video, sorry. Here on the asset, or an MP4 included with the project. In our case, we can add a secondary script called Agora Screen. Doesn't have any settings, but the live video feed, the one that we added here in networking, can find this screen because it's added in our hierarchy and can enable the video feed on this surface. Hopefully, let's see. Actually, I think did we have auto start? Okay. I think we need also here we connect it with the Agora client. That's good. And we have our media script here that has video. It can auto start. We need our local player entity here. Is it a local media? No, it's not. Let it fire as soon as we start. Let's see. Yeah, maybe. I understand. Yep, sorry. This is audio, I think, is supported only for global media. This is a local media, yes, because it's in world space. And we need, so basically, as soon as we enable this property, we can add collider here, similar to how we define other types of rooms, and we can scale this, let's say to enclose, to enclose this room slightly less, something like this. So as soon as I step here, I expect to get asked to enable my video feed, hopefully. If not, then I'm doing something wrong. Let's see. So we have audio, video source, screen. Yeah, sorry. And we're missing our Agora client here. So maybe that wasn't the case. Let me try it out. Oh yeah, now I got asked what I want to screen share. Now if I do this, we're going to get... Oh yeah, so basically we can turn off tweets. I can share this URL and we can continue the live stream here. No, please stay here. Okay, so yeah, we have a live video feed now. You can, in the same manner, you can cast your web camera. You can have as many surfaces as you like. So each user can have its own surface. So you can, make these surfaces dynamic. And what's cool, we even get reflections from this live sharing. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let me re-enable. Let's make this room local. So basically, we have this collider. I expect to enable my video feed as soon as I step in this room. Okay, not as soon as I load my application. That way you can have multiple rooms with different kind of media, features. Okay, I walk here. That's good. I get asked to enable my video feed, and then I see my screen. And everybody else connected sees the same. Let's verify the fact. Let's create another window here. So this player is streaming. Although the other player is going to get asked to stream, we have some variables which you can use. Actually, let me grab them from my... Just quickly, let me grab them. Because each player is auto-starting. Oh yeah, definitely, Darius, no worries. You will be able to see the video feed as soon as we upload it somewhere later today or tomorrow. So I'm going to disable auto start video. I'm going to run again this URL, and I'm going to reload this player too. So basically now one player has this special variable here, which instructs our script to automatically start the video as soon as he enters the zone. That's good. Okay, so he can screen share. Sorry, let me reload. Accidentally selected the wrong window. Good. Let's select this. Okay, I think this is the other player. Isn't that cool? Okay, good. So now the other one is entering the zone. He's not getting asked to stream, but he's seeing the other players stream. So this is the metaverse, isn't it? I don't know. Nobody knows what the metaverse is, but it's a good start to be able to have these live video feeds on 3D surfaces. Let's close this. Let's go back. Our other window. Okay, cool. Now, in the same way, you can enable audio. You can auto start the audio, auto start the video, do whatever you like. So basically, if we were to complete the demo, we'll do the same thing for the other rooms. Actually, let me resize that. Let's do something like this. So this is the size of the room. Very good. Did I get the size right? Yes, I got it. Even more. So we have, let's open here. We have our two entities selected. One is the video room. The other one is the audio room. So the audio room, it's a local room. It has spatial audio enabled. It will auto start the audio. So if I launch here, this page, cannot demonstrate it right now. You need multiple players, with a microphone enabled. But as soon as I step here, I can see here on my browser, the recording button enabled. Yes, I have, audio enabled. I step out of the room. the audio is disabled. So that way you can, split your world and create different kind of spaces, cluster your players in a way that you don't put everybody in the same room. You have different kind of media rooms, and do things like open spaces, interior spaces, and this kind of metaverses. I think that's it. We have some secondary scripts, like for example, let's see. Let me go back to the multiplayer script. Mm, let's take a quick look on our SDK here. So for example, we have a spawn area script. You see these two colliders. So basically this script here instructs the controller that it can spawn either in this location or in this location, and it can spawn at any point inside this collider. That way you can have multiple random points where players are coming in for this experience. We also have, let's go back a bit to the optimization here, which is quite important. We have an occluder script. So let's find the occluder box. Here it is. This is an occluder box. So basically I sized it the same size with the building. And this occluder box, it can filter entities that are inside here. So for example, I have this statue. Let's see what happens when I play this demo. So I can see this nice building. There isn't anything at the center, but if I enter the building, I can see this model appearing. This script works both with our instancer and with regular PlayCanvas model render and model components. That way you can, for example, in our live demo, in our live gallery demo, several of the models that you see on the top, like the lamps, the fans, they get disabled as soon as you step out of that room. That way you can preserve performance and, decorate an interior space with multiple furniture, objects, frames, pictures, and stuff like that. But when going outside of the room, that is automatically turned off. So it's a good script to set zones and occluders in your scene. Here also we have a hierarchical edge load. This is coming from Unreal. So basically this building, if you can watch carefully, it's getting replaced by low version LOD. So the lamps which are LOD 0 are getting disabled. And here you have, I think, only a single draw call. Or at least a couple of draw calls. Yeah. So you can see the draw calls, yes, increasing to 50. Yeah, it's a single draw call. I think 10 draw calls are for the cube map. So that way you can create open world, open spaces with multiple objects. Okay. If you have any question for the stream or right now, feel free to ask on the chat. Mostly conclude today's live stream. I would say that actually let's open the final experience and see if we forgot anything. Quickly do that. This is the final published demo, which you can actually play at any moment. Okay. Yeah, we got mostly right. We selected different colors. We also have a chat system, a chat solution, real-time chat that uses Colosseus, which you can use to send messages to other users. We made the controller first person in the gallery to be able to get closer to the paintings. Also in the actual paintings, we showcase our MMO in development, Aritelia. So if you want to appreciate this gallery, feel free to take a close look to the frames. We have three different media rooms. So we have room A to the left and room B to the right. So as soon as I step in, my microphone is getting enabled. These are audio only rooms. And this is audio and video room. So yes, as soon as someone steps in, yep, hey, hi. We can, exchange messages. and we can do, it's a complex, it's a complete multiplayer solution with audio, video enabling. That's good. Okay, thank you very much for joining today. Feel free to reach out to us on our social networking channels, mainly on Discord, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. You can find the links on our stream. If you have any question, feel free to get back to me personally. I'll be glad to help you out. And definitely don't forget to check out PlayCanvas if you haven't done already. It's a very cool platform. I think it's a game engine of the future because more and more experiences are moving to the web, are moving to a real-time platform. Thank you for watching again. Uh, Talk to you soon. Potentially, we're going to do more streams like this. Bye bye. Talk to you.